corporate funds, and I so move.
Motion by Richmond, second by Butler. Discussion, County Board Member Trenier.
I'm going to make a motion on Resolution 24-261 to amend that resolution to adjust the 2024 levy with the 0.75% CPI and new property to 2% CPI and new property to a
Yes, I
readjusted
saw.
rate
Point
of
of order because you get this.
0.5101.
Point of order. I get to at least bring up my points because not everybody was in the finance committee meeting. I wrote up some documentation because it appears as though there's some confusion on how we're getting to this.
And again, I guess I would have given to you, I just threw the formal process with motioned and second, and her button was up first, so you'll be,
My button's been on.
you could, yeah, because obviously it's continual on. I could start turning them off, but we'll fit in it. County Board Member Trenier.
I'm making a motion to amend.
Okay.
I've got a second from Costa.
Okay. Motion by Trenier, seconded by Costa. Any discussion on the amendment?
Yeah, I would. Discussion.
So now it's my turn?
Well, hold on. An amendment on this. So we're going to discuss on this one. So I'm going by order here. Who is up? So your light
go.
isn't on. So that's why I didn't see that it, and I'm sorry. It's obviously a glitch in the system here because I can tell when lights are on. That's why.
All right.
So you have a comment on, we'll let you go first.
I have a comment on our initial,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we already have a motion, a sec for this one too. So just so you know, but you can speak.
All right.
Yeah, you are addressing this. You can speak.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah.
All right. I just keep getting different.
No.
So,
I'm trying to be
I mean,
consistent.
here's the challenge. First off, we've had discussion before about the different ways that money is spent in that. And I do take an approach as though it is my money, because actually it's the citizens' money that we're, dealing with. So let's go through some of the facts, and these are facts. The difference between a 2% levy increase and a 0.75 decrease in a decrease is a decrease of $1.9 million. Since the budget was presented in August, the following things have happened. I believe it was a Thursday afternoon. PPRT income was reportedly to be $2 million less than in the draft budget. However, we gained $2.2 million from FEMA money carryover from the ICT and maintenance projects that'll be completed in fiscal year 25. Answer then notified us that there would be a balance of $1.9 million that needed to be reallocated, and on their recommendation, we are consolidating those pillar balances to be spent by the county. The draft budget had $1.5 million allocated in capital improvement budget for the WDOT underground fuel storage tank. However, the bid came in were less than the capital improvement budget, only needing to allocate $945,000. Those changes equal the $2.6 million gain in the budget. We were then able to move some projects out of the corporate budget, which is where the levy money goes, and put them into the ARPA funds and the capital improvement funds. The new ARPA money allowed us to not only fund the remaining beds for Sunny Hill that were needed, but also we allowed us to provide an additional $369,500 in other furniture, chairs, tables, and dressers for Sunny Hill that is also needed. And that furniture was not in the draft budget. So we've given them additional things that are needed for those residents, which is, I think, is a very valuable and valiant thing for us to do. The balance of the ARPA money we have proposed, then there was needed kitchen equipment at the ADF. They had requested that, as well as the previous suggested purchases from ARPA money from leadership. However, those all were put into the capital budget in the draft that was presented. These couple of changes have allowed us to move more of the capital projects from the corporate budget into the capital improvement fund, and it allowed us to also set aside $300,000 for the old courthouse site. The draft budget does not have any money allocated for that in the site, in the budget. Capital improvement funds spend is $6.8 million, which is the same amount as the draft budget. All we've done is we've just shifted the dollars in these projects. And the other capital improvement fund for the facilities equipment replacement is $125,000 less than the draft budget. By moving capital improvement projects out of the corporate fund and into these three special funds and making a couple of cuts to the county board budget as well as the executive budget, we can fund the budget with only a 0.75% increase in the budget. Now, with all that said, I believe that the citizens need to keep more of their hard-earned dollars. I have yet to hear one person tell me, please charge me more in property taxes. And to those who want to pay more in property taxes, feel free, write an additional check. I'm sure the county will be happy to accept it, as well as any other taxing body that's on your tax bill. I know that last year we were at 4%, and it's amazing. It's an election year. Now all of a sudden we're at 2%. You know, I think that, I shouldn't say I think, I know we can do a better job here at the county. And I know we can do a good job with this proposed budget, the levy at 0.75. That's all I have.
County Board Member Revis.
So I guess mine is a point of order here. I just did a quick Google search of the Roberts Rules of Order, and it looks like we did not follow the proper motion process. Chair Richmond moved, Dan Butler second. So the discussion was in his court. But
I'm the chair.
you're correct. So the chair gets to decide if it's a valid point of order or not. I mean, we saw what happened. Are you going to decide with what Robert's rules said?
Yeah, I'm the chair of this meeting. I consulted with the attorneys to make sure that I was accurate. And I'm sorry, like I said, his light is malfunction. It's not on. And even when I press it, yes, it's not. So I didn't see that it's on right now, and it's not. There's not a light on. So I would have.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
So-
We
So,
will, but it wasn't, and again, so it wasn't malicious as we're trying to.
But I guess I need to
But
know, because
I'm
what
the
are we
chair.
debating on though?
We are talking now about the amendment that has been passed out, so.
So,
So,
okay, I
do
guess.
you have a question,
Yeah,
sir,
I
or a
do. I have
comment?
more
Yeah.
points.
Yeah.
Well,
Retaining.
I guess, I just try to understand where we're at, what we're debating on, whether it was
Would you
the
like me to? read?
initial item. No, I got you.
Okay,
Thank
okay.
you. So, but that being said, what I think we are seeing here is what happens with government. They want to spend and spend and spend and continue to spend despite whatever the residents say. Earlier this year at the Forest Preserve, I know it's a different unit of government, we had 300 people tell us that they are sick of more spending, out of control spending. They cannot take it anymore. We have seniors writing in to this meeting saying that they can't afford their property taxes. They're probably going to get bullied out of their homes. And that's what's happening. The United States debt is $35.7 trillion. The state of Illinois is $156.5 billion. Will County, I believe we're somewhere north of $400 million in debt. Who pays for this? The taxpayer. The answer cannot be to continue to take more from the taxpayer to fund our services, widespread shotgun. And I know we provide good services compared to some of the other units of government. And this is a very modest budget and levy request compared to last year and compared to other units of government. But at some point, we have to say who's paying for all of this. Okay? I talked to a lot of people. I don't have any resident go, yeah, I'm really concerned. I can't get the mental health services that I need, and we need the county government to step up and provide more services. But I do talk to a lot of people that say, my property taxes are breaking my back. I can't afford my basic needs. I can't afford to live where I'm living, and I need to consider moving states. But I hear the other side doesn't want to listen to these concerns. They want to talk over during our discussion. They want to dismiss us. They want to when we have an item debated on the floor, immediately make a motion to get that money from the residents, because that's their only focus. I think we need to have a major reevaluation around the philosophy of county government here. It can't be every single year we ask for more money and say, well, it's a modest request and we're, trying to do what we can. At some point, we have to be firm and say no more. We're not going to take more. We're going to live within our means. We're going to reduce the size of government. We're going to increase the efficiencies of our services and try and save money where we can. I admit, at least from my person, I know Jim would say differently because he's worked very hard on this. I couldn't find areas in the budget to edit, and the ones I did, it wasn't a lot of money. And there were some things that I think I was able to discover that we could talk about into the next year. The food contracts with the ADF, the Juvenile Detention Center, and the Sunny Hill Nursing Home. Maybe we could try and consolidate those food contracts and save money. But other than that, I couldn't find alternatives, but that doesn't mean I'm not qualified to identify the concerns of our people, which is we're spending more money and we must stop and we have to draw a line somewhere. So I'm a no on that. It's a shame that debate and rules weren't followed prior to this. So.
True. That's not true. County Board Member Butler.
So we know that one of the main concerns for all people, but especially the people of Will County, are the higher taxes. And so we don't want to overburden the people. But we also know that it is our job to manage this county and to provide services. And as I advised my Republican members on the board, that rather than taking a knee-jerk response to what Democrats do, we need to embrace some of these ideas and we need to make them our own and make them fiscally responsible. So Jim Richmond, as head of the Finance Committee, has been working very hard for not just this month, but many months on just trying to do that. And what he's done is he's able to provide money for our programs while saving the taxpayers money. We're not taking more than what we need. So it's careful consideration. And this amendment goes to take away that effort completely. The very idea of embracing what the other side's doing, but making it fiscally responsible. So I don't envy you, Madam Chair, because I'm sure you know that this will rest in your lap because there will be a tie vote. And I'm just asking that people understand the amount of effort that went in to doing this and to make all people involved happy. So I would strongly oppose this and hope that we can get back to our original resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the support there, Mr. Butler. It is difficult to create a budget. County Board Member Ballage.
When I heard this just now, I thought to myself, we have a huge spending problem. Mr. Revis, you did a good job explaining that. I agree 100% with you. And I'm looking at it from a different perspective. We have a lot of people in Will County that are senior citizens or people that are on a fixed income. And what do you think is going to happen to them? You raise the taxes and they're going to lose their house if they can't sell it because they can't pay the taxes. The government really owns your house. You don't really own it yourself because if you don't pay the property tax, they take it away. Well, what happens to these people that don't have enough money to pay the property tax anymore because we raise it all the time? Every time we raise that tax, someone's got to pay, and the people on fixed incomes really suffer. And I don't want to be part of saying I don't care about the people that are seniors or people on fixed incomes. That's ridiculous to be put into a predicament where our board's going to vote for something that's garbage, utterly stupid, and utterly hurtful to a lot of people. And then I got to take the yells and screams from all the people that tell me they can't pay their taxes. And I'm going to be voting no. And I still got to hear it because they don't care about us that vote no. They care about the board voting yes. So God bless everybody that votes yes. You're hurting a lot of innocent people.
County Board Member Newquist.
Thank you, Madam Executive. I first of all want to say that being on the Finance Committee, I know that Member Richmond spent a lot of time on this budget, and I really want to compliment him on the work that he put into it. But the reason I am voting for the 2% is because we have a number of union contracts coming up for negotiation this year. And those people that are part of that bargaining unit are going to expect raises, and in many cases, we are going to need to provide significant increases in order to maintain our staffing levels. We have greatly improved over the last couple of years, but we're still lagging in certain areas. And I am very concerned that we're not going to be able to do that if we stick with the 0.75. So it's not because I want to make people pay more property taxes. I'm a senior. I'm going to pay increased property taxes, as are we all. But I just really, truly think that we need to give ourselves some negotiating room in order to be able to provide the services that our residents expect. Thank you.
Thank you. County Board Member Berkowitz.
Okay, so I've got a couple things here. One, going back to this amendment, County Board Member Trenier's amendment. I had no clue this was happening. This was pushed through so quickly. We didn't even have the language of what was being voted on. This was put on my desk. The language for her amendment was put on my desk after it all transpired. I don't believe that's appropriate. I think in the past, we've had to, even if we take a break, the language has had to be provided to every board member, because how can you vote on something you haven't read?
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Yeah, I was gonna say, you just had an amendment today that we do amendments at the county board.
And this was put on my desk
Right.
after it was pushed through. And Jenifer, I'm asking
Yeah.
you a question.
Okay.
Why, I understand you're the chair and you can do what you want to do, but why
say
wouldn't
that.
you have at least given Jim, who is the chair of finance, the courtesy of providing all the county board members with the facts and the details of this budget?
So,
Amazingly, my light doesn't work anymore.
okay.
So,
okay, Mr.
Jenifer,
Ri- Okay, so, okay, folks,
Why
I
wouldn't
get that this
it's
is
a
really high.
courtesy?
I'm going to answer your
Please.
question. This was my draft. This is not my amendment. All right. And Mr. Richmond, despite what his concern, you still had the same opportunity to say exactly what you said. I don't know if what you
Not
said an
at
hour
the
second would have
appropriate
changed
time.
her amendment. So so it really doesn't matter that. But in regard to this is not my amendment. This is a county board's member. And just like you made an amendment 30 minutes ago, or however long County Board Member Sherry Williams did, amendments happen at this board. And she provided, I don't know if there's any indication of when they have to provide it. I never saw anything that Chair Richmond proposed.
Jenifer,
Outside
my question
was
goes
never sent to
back
me. I'm just saying, so so we can't, no, we're out of order. I'm talking to County Board Member Berkowitz. I'm just saying,
Jenifer?
we can't complain about something at one time. If it doesn't fit where we like, we don't complain. You can't have
Okay.
it both ways.
So my
Okay.
question specifically addressed County Board Member Trenier's
Yes.
amendment, not Chairman Jim Richmond's.
Oh.
So going back, my question to you is why you wouldn't at least have allowed him the courtesy. So I might just request that in the future, the chairman of the of the committee, let's make a special attempt to give them the courtesy of preventing the other county board members with the facts we need to make a vote. Also, in the future, I know we have had the amendments read out before the vote. Didn't happen this morning. I'd like to have that happen again in the future, please. How can people vote on something they haven't had a chance to read? Now, the second question I have is, this also, we need to be more cognizant of the people who are either watching the recordings of our minutes or listening live. This is mass confusion for those people. They're watching our meetings, they're trying to follow what's happening, and if we are not specific and we don't provide the details, they have no idea what's going on. Now, I want to share some comments regarding our budget. I have been getting feedback from people of all walks in life, private business owners, families. They're all my neighbors, and they're struggling right now. They are struggling to pay their property taxes. Every levy on their property tax bill is having a great impact on their security, their mental health, their quality of life. Many people I've met, even last night, I met half a dozen people who told me, we go to the grocery store and we have to figure out what we can buy. What do we have to give up this week? So I think we have to remember that we all need to tighten our belt. County needs to focus on county government. We don't need to grow county government. Everyone likes to say, oh, people want services. People don't want services that aren't required by county government from us. They don't want us spending money that we don't need to be spending. So with that reason, I thank you for your time.
Thank you. County Board Member Coleman.
Good morning, County Executive and fellow board members. I just had a few comments, and one specific question is, what is the actual dollar amount that the property taxes will be raised based on our levy at the two different, based on either the 0.75? Does anybody have that answer? The dollar amount per, $300,000 home, it would be this, $250,000 home, it would be
I
that.
don't know if Sean is in. I don't know if we have that information. And sometimes it's too difficult to come up with an exact science with that,
Okay,
So
so I asked that
just
because,
I mean, we
we
have seen
hear-
people who said they will raise and we know they've gone lower. So it is really hard depending on all the sometimes exemptions they have. So, I mean, I don't know if Rashawn wants to give a general, if you can, no, she's not. Really.
no, if she doesn't have the numbers, okay, this was not like a got you moment. The reason I bring that up is because we are constantly saying, I can wait till everyone's done talking. No, I got
yeah.
time today
I know.
because the consistency in both sides, because I've done some sideline talking over here too. So I'll just wait. We're going to be here for a while. So I asked that because we keep talking about increasing people's taxes. People are struggling to eat. People are struggling to go here and go there. And in 4 years that I've been on the county board, I have not had one person in my district complain about property taxes. But we have had
No, this is really a touchy and intense thing. I mean, can we try to be, both sides, be respectful and not have the cackling and the comments?
I mean, you can check my emails, you can check phone logs. They don't call about that. But what we have had is several people who need some mental health help. If you've been paying attention, the high schools and the junior highs were on lockdown a couple of weeks ago. Why? Because they're young people who think it's funny to comment and call in and put on social media that there's going to be a shooting. So now you have them and you have the parents involved and you have the community involved. You have people who have been killing children. So if we don't think we have a mental health epidemic, not just in Will County, but across the nation. There's also major concerns, and we don't control a lot of this, but within the education system. Because I really think that if we take the funding and put it into proactive measures, we would be in a better place. We've seen so many people come in here for opioid rehab clinics, mental health for people 40 plus. But if some of these programs that we're trying to decrease and reduce, and I even heard the juvenile detention center come up, but it was in regards to food, not programming there, because I've done some extensive research on what that looks like over there when students and young people are released and they receive nothing in there that's going to help them when they get back to what we call the real world. So with that said, we're hung up on this protocol and who gets to talk first. And some people have been promoting on social media that they are specifically responsible for cutting taxes in Will County. And I just think it's very sad that we are lying to people. The other piece is we're talking about people who are fed up with paying property taxes. I've been paying property taxes for 12 years. If it comes a point in time where I couldn't afford that, I'm going to downsize. And that might be the option for some people. But the option for others who are currently working, trying to pay their bills, making $4,000 a month, and rent is $2,000 a month, and they might have a child or a parent that they're taking care of, and we don't have the funds to actually give them a living wage, where we have people coming in getting paid more because they're temporary workers than the people who actually go to the job every day. You have people working with those who have mental illnesses. What do you think that does to them and their families and what they need to do in their own household? And so I'm not in favor of raising taxes, but I am in favor of taking care of the people of Will County, and that's going to cost money. I don't think there's some new program that we're trying to throw a whole bunch of money at that's not needed. The mental health board is needed. If you never worked in a school, a hospital, a senior care facility, if you never tried to start up a business, you don't know what it takes to do those things. You don't know the mental anguish that teachers are going through, nurses, doctors, mental care experts.
I think she's dressing about why she's supporting this. Well, she's talking about our nursing home, it sounds like, and some of our staffing. So I was watching it.
So I'm going to conclude here that we have a lot of county employees who work with vulnerable populations, who work with populations that could become violent, that may have been on drugs, and they need to be paid appropriately or they're going to be leaving, and we'll have the people here complaining about property taxes still. And that goes for the sheriff's department, that goes for the nursing care facilities, that goes for the mental health board. All those things need to be funded so we can improve the quality of life for everyone in Will County. Thank you.
Thank you. County Board Member Dean Schlottman.
Thank you, Madam Executive. So I know we talk a lot about needing to fund the services. Mr. Chair Richmond's budget funds the services for this fiscal year. There are no people being cut from any positions within this budget, including union contracts that include increases. The wife of a deputy, I know that he'll get an increase, and I know that comes from a union contract. This budget absolutely funds that. When we start talking about pay raises going forward, we can't start levying today for things that are going to happen 4 years from now. And when we start, it could be short-sighted. I know we all were quiet when Member Coleman was speaking. Do I need to pull the same teacher garbage here and be quiet until
Yeah,
everyone?
I'm
else
trying to
can
be the
speak?
teacher up here too, so let's,
I'm just
okay,
saying, we're gonna do
we
it
are going to
one way or the
try
other
to
way.
please, you all have a time to talk, press your button. I'm trying to get through
But-
everyone.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's not being short-sighted. That is taking things as they come because we do not know what is going to happen in the next 4 years. We don't know how things will financially play out and what differences the county's needs will be at that time. That being said, we don't want to take away services from people, but we also need to make sure that we are not telling people, sorry, you've worked somewhere, you've planned to be in this home for your whole life. Tough. We want to take more of your money, so you need to change your life because that is what the county sees fit. These people deserve to stay in their homes, these people on fixed incomes. And year after year, we talk about it being a small percentage. We're asking people, well, over the course of 10 or 15 years, those 2, 3, 4 lattes become a lot more than that. They become a car payment. They become half of a mortgage payment. So we can talk about people who are renting as well, but so we don't care about those people who are paying on their mortgages and paying their taxes. They have children just as well as everyone else who are paying for their kids to do things. So I also want to know why at the last minute we're receiving this 2%. And after Chair Richmond's report shows exactly where this money is going to go, what are we going to do with this extra 1.9 million that we're going to suddenly need out of nowhere? Is there a place for it? Is there funding, a special spot for it? Is it going to something specific? Because we can talk about the mental health, but that is a completely different pile of money that we're asking people for. So that's another topic that we'll be talking about. But this is a budget that gives out the services, that does not cut any jobs from the county's budget, that funds union contracts, and we're going to just up the ante even more. We have to start being smart. I know if we're talking about even in our own households, we've tightened our budgets in my own house and we have stopped buying certain things or pulled back on certain subscriptions because we have to. So the county needs to do the exact same thing. And I think Chair Richmond's plan that was proposed is the right way to go here. That's all I have.
County Board Member Freeman.
Thank you. I do believe that a 2% budget with new property was originally brought forth. I also believe that the chair of the Finance Committee had said that at one point this was good. And then all of a sudden we had a little extra money, so we're going to work everything around. And there were cuts to some requests, and it is in the sheriff's department. And if those requests for the masks are not provided, then we have to lease them out. So we also have the contracts coming forth. I was sitting here listening to Member Coleman, and she echoed everything I wanted to say. So I'm just adding a couple extras. But we do have contracts coming forth. I do believe it was somewhere between 3 or 5 contracts coming up. How do we approve a contract and say, oh, but we can't really give you the money until 2026? That's not how that works. We have people at Sunny Hill Nursing Home who are making $15 an hour. They're caring for our loved ones. They're caring for our seniors, and they deserve to be acknowledged and to offer them, I don't want to say a pittance, is sad. It's not a livable wage. So with those things being said, I will be in support of this. And it's not because I want to kick someone out of their house. It's not because I'm evil. It's because I am providing for the services of this county, including our seniors in our Sunny Hill Nursing Home. Thank you.
Thank you. I was going to Mitchell next, but I don't think she has her light on anymore. I'm trying to get people at County Board Member O'Gala. She's gone too. All right, go County Board Member O'Gala. I'm going through people, I'm going once through the people who haven't spoken. Did you need to? All right. Oh, sorry.
Thank you. So what, I think some clarification needs to be made. Today, we will be voting on two different levies. One is the corporate fund levy and one is the mental health levy. So everyone who's talking about mental health during this conversation, it probably means to be talking about that at Resolution 24-262. What we need to understand is the fact that it was very easy to get to 0.75% of CPI plus new construction. I'll tell you why. Unfortunately, as Jim mentioned, we did find out that the personal property replacement tax went down by about $2 million. So he had to go through the budget and find out, where are we going to get this $2 million from? So what he did was he took capital projects that were in some department's budget and moved those to the capital fund. So he's paying for all those. All those are paid for. In addition to that, he cut only two budgets, county board and a little bit out of the executives, not impacting anybody. In addition to that fact, we were originally expecting that we would have $436,000 that were unspent in ARPA. We found out we had an additional $1.9 million. So with that fact, we can fund these other things that we weren't funding or were being funded in the budget using those dollars. Therefore, all that we need to fund this budget without cutting anything, without cutting an employee, is a 0.75%. We aren't cutting anybody. And we do not know, I have heard the conversation, well, we've got union contract negotiations coming up. Yes, we do. Will they all be solved next year? We have no idea. We have no idea what the agreement will be for any of those union contracts. So if we can't just bump it up for the possibility of some increase that we don't know about, we will raise the taxes for that increase when it becomes appropriate. That's the way we should be taxing. And as far as we're talking about, I heard people mention about mortgages and people mentioning about rents, saying it's really hard to pay your mortgage because it's gone so high. But you know what? The rents have gone up because property taxes have gone up. The person who owns the home or apartment building or whatever somebody's renting has to pay more in property taxes. Therefore, they're increasing the rent. Their insurance has gone up for the same reasons. Therefore, the rent increases. So if we do want to make things affordable, we do have to do something about lowering property taxes. Last year, we saw the largest levy increase in Will County's history of $8 million. Okay, $5 million was proposed for a building we're not even going to plan to use. So now with this change, with that $8 million, which was a very large amount last year, and this modest 0.75, we're able to fund everything. I don't understand why that isn't seen or why that isn't heard. I'll tell you one thing too, that Jim Moostis had said when he was the county board speaker, now called the chair, that if we do not do something about the amount of employees that we do hire, the amount of employees that we do have, we will have a problem in the future of being able to pay their salaries and fund their pensions. So we do have to worry about how many employees get hired and how much we grow, because that is another issue that we have to think about. This seems pretty easy. No cuts in anything except our budget, the county board and the county executive, funding everything that was in the proposed budget and additional things that were not in the proposed budget. I don't understand why one side of the aisle can see that and the other doesn't. I think it's a shame that we continue to have this and we can never have a decent compromise conversation, because when I sit in these meetings, I certainly only hear a certain side of the aisle saying, listening and asking questions, and the other side remains quiet. Why is that? Because they can't tax enough.
County Board Member Costa.
Thank you and good morning. First, I want to apologize to Member Dean Schlotman for my shorthanded comment while she was speaking. I really should have waited in my moment to say that those comments were short-sighted. I do want to acknowledge and appreciate our finance chair's work to, try to find and explore ways to bring down the originally proposed budget percentage. So this is not a last minute change. I think all of the work that was done and that came through the finance committee to bring forward a 0.75%, to kind of identify where those dollars could continue to pay for capital projects was good work. So clearly to me, we've got 0.75% plus new construction to pay for capital projects. I will be voting, as I seconded the amendment, for the 2% because I want to ensure that we've got dollars for the people who are working. Capital projects are absolutely important. But when we think about, people deserving to stay in their homes, I also think about people deserving to stay in their jobs. Taxes hurt. When taxes go up, it hurts all of our pockets. It hurts all of our wallets. We all have to make adjustments. But if wages aren't going up and keeping up with the cost of living, that's going to continue to hurt. And we don't know what the outcome of negotiations will be, but I do believe that people deserve to have a living wage. When Sunny Hill workers and CNAs have agency workers coming in getting paid 3 times their base salary, that may force people to find a job elsewhere and to also move out of Will County. We have government workers, employees of the county who are getting recruited by other counties, neighboring counties, because they pay more. I am concerned about our public defenders. I'm concerned. I need to make sure that we have our first responders and our frontline staff here taking care, providing the services for our own constituents, public defenders, correctional officers, our CNAs. It is a struggle. As Member Berkowitz had stated, the struggle creates mental health issues, which is why I think we are talking about mental health. We're weaving that into this conversation when it comes to, at what percentage are we going to tax? And my vote is going to be ensuring that people have good paying jobs here so that we could negotiate fairly and we can be a good employer and a good steward of this county. So those are my comments today. And again, I want to appreciate, all of the commentary that was raised today, despite the fact that our Democratic leader, Trainier, had raised this amendment. It doesn't stop us from having the conversation, from having this very important conversation. So let's continue to do that. Let's continue to hear each other out. Thank you.
County Board Member Mitchell.
I will not be voting for this 2% amendment. I appreciate that our employees need to have a wage that is going to allow them to live have a livable wage, as they say. The problem is, the reason why why it's not livable is because we continually increase their property taxes because they have homes too in Will County. Our policies are the reason why their wage is not livable, is basically what I'm saying. So I think if Chair Richmond has taken the time to go through all of the budget and find us a way where we can continue to provide services and not raise the taxes on our employees who live in Will County, as well as those who do not work for Will County, then why is that not an option we can consider? Why? Why is it 2%? If I don't know what the unions are going to come back with as far as their contract negotiations, why 2%? Where does that come from? Why is it not 1%? Why is it not 1.25%? Why 2? I'm just wondering, what is it? Is it that you just want to do what you want to do and you haven't met a tax increase that you don't like? I went to an event not too long ago, and somebody else mentioned that I was on the county board, and the person who was not a part of anything else, just a normal citizen, and I don't even know what that person's politics was, said to me, "Ooh, you're on the county board? Lower my property taxes." That was the first thing. That's what people ask. So I'm just telling you that even though you may not get a call, I don't get calls for property taxes, but certainly everybody I talk to, if they know that I'm in government, if they know that I'm on the county board, the first thing they're going to ask me is about the property taxes. I get it. We want people to have a nice life and all that. But we also want let's think about our taxpayers. We also want them to have a nice life. And the idea that our taxpayers should downsize their lifestyles and that the government doesn't have to downsize its spending is unconscionable. So no to this 2%.
Thank you. So I have a list of people who are now on their second go around here. So if you could keep it concise, or if you have anything new to add, that would be appreciated. So we have. Sorry. Chair Richmond.
All right. Thank you for some time. You know, what we have to realize is that, you know what, not only will people be voting in November, but they'll also be voting with their feet over the course of the next several years. I know many people that are my age group, and that the way they're voting with their feet is they're selling their house, they're banning Illinois. And it just look at these statistics from U-Haul, look at any of the, you know, Illinois is at the top of the worst list for people leaving the state. We have a great state. We have a great, we're in the middle of the country. But the problem is it's the taxes. Also, too, is I just want to address a couple things, too, is the public defenders, they did get a raise. They got the same kind of raise that was provided to the state's attorney's office. So trust me, they're not suffering. I mean, you're going to tell me that they have student debt and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of people with student debt, but based on, you know, government programs, they can have that waived if they serve 10 years, I believe it is, in government. It was also mentioned that contractors make a lot more money than what our staff does. Well, you got to realize too is, you know, I've owned my own businesses. I've owned multiple businesses. I've sold businesses and that. And when you're a contractor, you're an employee, or you're working as a contractor for somebody, yeah, you do get paid more. Absolutely. Because the things that you're burdened with are, you have to pay both sides of your FICA. You have to pay your own Medicare. You have to have your own business insurance. You have to pay your own workman's comp. You have to make quarterly payments into the state for any other additional taxes that are owed. You're also responsible for your own health insurance too. So there's all those burdens. It's like being your own small little business. So yes, contractors do make more. But at the same token too, contractors don't get vacation pay. They don't get holiday pay. They don't get sick pay. They don't get pensions. They don't get mental health days or whatever else there is that's out there. So there's a lot of things that, you know, I got to tell you, being a business owner, I don't know. I tell my family, you know, own your own business. But I think I'm going to have to add one more line. Own your own business in the right place. Because it's getting challenging for any business owner out there. Ask them about the regulations. Ask them about the tax burdens, the inflation and everything like that. So I just am looking at this from a perspective of, we cut no services. Everybody got their pay raises. To me, this seems like a very sound 0.75. And I don't know what else to tell people or to convince them, but all the numbers are here. We've had conversations. I tried to outline it again today so that this way it's, you know, easily to be understood in that. Everybody's getting what they asked for. And I think the only thing that I did miss too is the fact that the sheriff's department was shorted $22,000 and change for some respirator thing that does the quality of their mask or that. But they do have the ability to, you know, they've got some special funds, so hopefully they can find it in that. But like I said, we're not taking away, you know, police cars. We're not taking away bullets. We're not taking away any services that our community desires and or needs. And maybe it's about time that what we do is get some of government out of our lives. And let's go back to the days where neighbors help neighbors, friends help friends, community organizations helped out within their community in that. Because, what was Reagan's quote is, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Those are probably the last words that a lot of people don't want to hear. Let's allow our communities to be more active and involved in our lives in that. So I'll be here afterwards. I'll be happy to address any citizens' questions, anybody on this board's questions on how we got to this. And actually, incrementally, year over year, this budget is increasing. So it's not decreasing. Again, we did not make cuts. I do this this is the second year in a row. I go through, I've got 3 pages, and this time I'll say realigning some budgets. And I only picked the things that were $1,000 and $2,000 and that more. And I have 3 pages of that. So, if we want to start talking about how we can cut and do a bit better job on their budget, I'll be more than happy to share that with you too. So thank you for the time.
County Board Member Revis.
I just wanted to say, I feel like it's possible we all confuse what the real enemy is at times. I just went through looking at each one of the members on the Democrat side of the aisle. And not that I'm saying I had to remind myself this. I didn't have to remind myself this because it's like the first thing that come to mind. But I actually like you guys. I actually think you're all very likable people. You're very friendly. I think we do have a good working rapport. I will criticize myself a little bit. I do think we need to make a better effort to speak with each other and learn where everybody stands and what is motivating each other. But the real enemy is, at least in my eyes, the spending that we have to debate over at the county. So some groups might think we need to spend more, other groups we need to spend less. I'm in the camp that thinks we need to spend less. I talk to a lot of people that think we need to spend less. I don't want to beat that point home, but I do just want to say, to my colleagues across the aisle, don't take it personally. It's the spending, not you guys itself. So thank you.
I'm going to go Berkowitz and then Trenier.
Thank you, Madam Executive. So in summary, what I have been hearing over all my years on the county board from my neighbors is that they want county government to do what county government should do. When I ask them about services, they don't want us to add services. They want us to do what county government is supposed to do. Don't grow your services, don't hold social events and the administrative costs and things that go into providing these events that are not related to county government. We have a dynamic group of community organizations that provide these very same services. So let's be diligent. Let's go back to our roots of county government. Be the best county government we can be, but get rid of the excess. Be frugal and let our homeowners have more money at the end of the day in their pocket so they can raise their families, they can pay their bills. And so I cannot support this 2% increase because of that reason. Every other levy is holding their hands out for more money. So at the end of the day, look back and see, what are we really supposed to be doing? And let's be the best at that. And Chair Richmond did that. He went back and he looked at each line item, and we are doing what we need to be doing. We are doing government business, providing the support to every department, every unit of county government that needs support. So I'm asking each one of you to please remember what the people in our homes, what they're so often saying to us. And if there's some districts where they don't have concerns over property taxes, that's awesome. But I have not seen that. Thank you.
Thank you. County Board Member Trenier. Sorry. Yep, I thought I did.
Thank you, Madam Executive. While I did make an amendment to the tax levy agenda item that is here, I have not even spoken on my own amendment. So this is my first time speaking on my amendment.
Sorry.
And I just want to say thank you to Board Member Revis. I really appreciated his comments. It isn't us versus them. I do think, though, sometimes it seems like it because there is no dialogue. There is no time in this part-time job to have the kind of dialogue that might bring us to a consensus. But I do listen. And last year, the opposite side of the aisle proposed a 2% tax levy increase. I thought it was great that we could have gone to 3.4 this year, and you offered 2%. That has been on the agenda, multiple agendas for several weeks now. This was not a surprise. This wasn't like something for the first time that anybody's seen. What was a surprise and what was the first time seeing with no pre-notification was at Finance Committee when the 0.75 was brought to us. In fact, the vice chair didn't even see the documents before the committee meeting started. So I think we do need to work harder on communicating as committees and as vice chairs and chairs, and as leadership. So I really appreciated your remarks, Board Member Revis. I think our tax system is unfair. I will be the first person to say it's regressive. Taxing senior citizens, I don't think that's a great thing. They've finally gotten to the golden years of their life and they still have to pay property taxes. Hopefully, most of them have paid off their mortgages, so it's not as horrible as it really could be. But our tax system is unfair and regressive. But we don't have the power to change that. And, when I talk to people who tell me they hate their property tax, I remind them that over 70% of their tax is not a county issue. We don't have any say-so over it. And I think that's an important thing to remember. I've been a business owner. When I owned my business, and I owned it for 19 years, we always looked at what was coming in the future years, what were going to be the new expenses, how much the cost of our brochures or our advertising was going to go up, how much raises were going to have to go up. We planned ahead. We took a look ahead. And I know here at the county, we do that with our capital improvement program. We look ahead to try to plan ahead for what we're going to need. So we don't get surprises like a request for an $8 million voting system when we had no idea it was coming. We know now that there are at least 6 contracts that are going to be at the beginning of their negotiations this year, and some will complete this year. Maybe not all, but some. I think it's important for us to be responsive to that and take a look at what's going on in the economy nationally. Inflation is starting to slow. It's actually going down. We may not have an opportunity to levy next year for the amount of money that we would need to pay for the raises that are coming in these contracts. I can't say that for sure. Nobody can. But what I can say for sure is what happened in the past. And we had 5 years in a row with a 0 increase in the tax levy. That's what put us in a really hurting situation. And I hate to say this, but thank goodness for COVID and ARPA, because it certainly took care of a lot of needs here at the county. And we're about to take up the last bit of the ARPA money here at the county for needs and services that, somehow we don't levy enough to take care of. The federal government basically bailed us out. I mean, they paid for all the stuff at the new morgue. So, I really do think we need to look ahead, be responsible. People stay in this community because there are great schools. I mean, I hear all the time. I saw an ad on Nextdoor yesterday about somebody wanting to find a resident in the Nequa School District that would rent them rooms for their family so that they could move their kids into the Nequa School District. I mean, we have good schools. People, will do whatever to get there. And we have good jobs, good paying jobs. And we want to keep it that way. And we want to improve the ones that maybe aren't really where they need to be. And I think we're going to have some opportunities to do that with these next round of negotiations. So I am supporting this. That's why I made the amendment. And those are some of the reasons. So I hope that board members take some of those thoughts into consideration, and that we move forward and approve a levy today. Thank you.
Chair O'Gala.
Thank you. So I heard a lot of comments here today. One being we need to communicate more. Communication is a two-way street, and everyone should be attending certain meetings to hear what's going on. I don't see people coming to all their meetings. I don't see them all showing up to their own committee meetings. The county board was presented with a budget that no one had seen prior, nor any conversation was given prior to the county executive providing the budget. So she provided the budget. Thank goodness she wasn't thinking much like the Democrat leader that, whoa, I can go ahead and tax at 3.4% of CPI. She didn't think that. She gave a budget that was less. So that's good. And I know that the Democrat leader is always excited to tax as much as she possibly can. As far as planning for the future, this budget is planned for the future, which is next year. We budget 1 year at a time, not a million years at a time. The tax system not being fair, here's the thing. We have an opportunity to do something about it because we can start right here and set an example that we look at the budget that's prepared, see how we can pay for everything within the money that we have on hand, the money that we have in the corporate capital fund and things like that, the money that we have available from the additional funds that were left over from ARPA. And we did that. So communicating, absolutely. Everybody should have been at the finance committee meetings and asked those questions. And it is the privilege of the chair to present his proposed budget at that meeting. And that's what he did. And questions should happen. I typically hear questions from one side of the aisle while the other side of the aisle remains silent. They don't ask any questions. They just sit there and they wait until moments like today, and then they will say all that they say. Some members, I don't ever see them. Some members, I don't ever talk to because they're simply never here. And then the additional thing, which is a shame because people are not present and they do not talk to other elected officials, because I had chaired the ad hoc IT committee for years, and our former clerk, Lawrence Daly Ferry, was my vice chair. We had long conversations about IT for a long time. When she became the clerk, she made it well aware, and she told me about all the problems we were facing with our voting system and how old some of the equipment was, and it was only running on Windows 95. And we were fortunate to find $8 million to replace that so this year's election would not have any problems. If you didn't know about that, it's because you're not talking to anybody else. You're not hearing anybody else. There's nothing surprising about it. It was a conversation that was had for a very long time. So it's unfortunate that the one side of the aisle is proposing something that the other side will never see, will never agree to. Even though there isn't a cut in service, there's not a cut in employee, there's not a cut in a program, there's not a cut in anything. And we could provide our residents with a levy increase of only 0.75% plus CPI. It's unfortunate that we can't have that agreement. Thank you.
County Board Member Mueller.
I'd like to call the question.
I think you're the last one. Yeah. So. All right. With that, we have a first and a second on the amendment. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Balich. Trainier. Dean Schlattman. Van Dyne. Pretzel. Butler. Newquist. Richmond. Parker. Williams. Diaz. Winfrey. Coleman. Logan. Freeman. Revis. Mitchell. No. Ortiz. Berkowitz. Mueller. Costa. Ogalla. She was a yes. Tie 11-11, County Executive breaks the tie.
Aye. Chair Richmond.
12-11.
With 12 in the affirmative, the motion carries. Chair Richmond. Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. Yep. Is there a motion to vote as amended? We'll go to this discussion. Motion to vote as amended by Trenier, seconded by Newquist County Board Member Butler.
Did you say that you?
Pardon me? Yeah. It was a 12-11. County Board, so we have a motion, a second as amended. Any discussions on it? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Can you reread it so everyone understands?
Wait,
Never read.
it was read, but as motion, I'm reading what was handed to me, so as this is as amended, I amend Resolution 24-261 to adjust the 2024 levy with 0.75% CPI new property to 2% CPI new property to a readjusted rate of 0.5101%. So it is handed before you. So you're now voting as amended. Madam Clerk, please call the roll. It's the same thing. We're on the same one. We're voting as amended.
Balich. Trenier. Trenier. Dean Schlattman. Dean Schlattman. Van Dyne.
Yes.
Pretzel.
No.
Butler. Newquist. Yes. Richmond.
No.
Parker. Williams. Diaz. Winfrey. Coleman. Logan. Freeman. Revis.
No.
Mitchell. Ortiz. Berkowitz.
No.
Mueller. Costa. Ogalla. Tie 11-11.
County Executive votes aye. With 12 in the affirmative, the motion carries.